Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our review of Old Friends on Bridgerton Season 3, Episode 4. So, a lot happened. A lot happened in this episode, and a lot also happened in my personal life. First things first, why this is late. This is late because I had done a whole recording and only to realize that someone had messed around with my microphone and all that hours of work that I had done completely gone because everything was on mute. So hence the delay. I got sick, so on and so forth. Things just kept on getting delayed. So here we are, July 30th at 11:37 p.m. trying this again. So let's get to it. It's the next day after the event at the event hosted by Lord Fuller, the book collection event. We have an encounter. First of all, Violet is walking with Francesca, and Francesca is asking Violet a bunch of questions about Lord Kilmartin, the Kilmartin family, and Violet is wondering, like, is Francesca interested in Lord Kilmartin like that? Because why is she asking so many questions about him? And as they are talking about him, they spot him browsing, doing some window shopping, and Francesca giddily hops over and she starts asking him some questions like, "Oh, why weren't you there? I was hoping to see you." And he says it's only out of politeness that I attend these social events and I prefer to keep them to as few a number as possible. And then she's like, "Oh, so are you then polite, just being polite, talking to us?" And he's like, "You're the one who stopped to talk to me." And I was like, oh. He's very direct. And it sounded like he was curving her. And this, like, the reaction on her face looks like someone has egged her face. She's not happy about this. And so to break the tension or to switch the conversation over, by the way, he doesn't understand. He's a little bit of a socially awkward guy, and there's some music. There's a guy playing a violin in the street, and he's like, "Oh, isn't that music quite pleasant, enjoyable?" And she's like, "No, if I'm being honest, I don't find it enjoyable. It's too fast. It needs to be slower, so that one can have a chance to enjoy it before it ends." Then, with that said, he just excuses himself and walks off somewhere. That was a very awkward conversation. And I felt for Violet being the chaperone back there, having to endure or having to listen to all this go down. I'm just going to pause here just because of what happened last time and to make sure that I am recording something that's actually picking up my voice. And we're back. Everything checks out to be okay. So let's keep going. Eloise visits Cressida in her home, and the visit is very brief. A couple of things that Eloise said about their home. It was so dark. First of all, I thought it gave like dark academia vibes, aesthetics, and it's not very welcoming to have a home like that that's dark and moody, but I think it matches the description of their family values, right? Or their family style. And she's like, "Oh, it's like a museum in here." And um while she's in there, Araminta is like, "Listen, it's calling hour." And Eloise is like, "Yes, hence I came to call on Cressida." Then she bounces just for a minute, and then Cressida is like, "Oh yeah, she's joking and she's saying, yeah, it pretty much feels like a mausoleum." She lets Eloise know that, she hasn't really had any friend come to call on her at her house. And just as they're beginning to talk and be friendly, oh, wait. Eloise says, "Oh, I just stopped over because I noticed that you weren't really looking or feeling well after you seeing Penelope with Lord Debling at the book collection event." So she's coming to check up on her friend, and it looks like this friendship is actually like genuine. It's not just about Penelope and their mutual dislike of Penelope. Her father comes in, and we can hear him talking to the mother, Araminta, in the corridor, and saying, listen, you needed to make it clear that, it's calling hour. And he comes in, asks to talk to Cressida alone. Eloise excuses herself, and then he says, you are not to be seen with that Bridgerton girl. Do I make myself clear? And then Eloise walks off. Meanwhile, Mr. Mondrich is experiencing like a crisis in his business, and you can see he's looking over his books, and he's just like two-thirds of the lords have closed their account. He doesn't know what to do, and before he can afford to bring in someone to take over the bar to run things while he's away, he has to figure out if he needs to change the decor, if he needs to hire a new cook. But the truth is, no matter what he does, as long as he's being entrepreneurial, no one will keep their accounts there, because members of the ton of the society working is something that is looked down upon, and people want to distance themselves from such behavior. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So Alice wisely lets him come to terms that he has to let go of this because of their new status in society. Then within Mr. Mondrich's bar, there are lords who are sat around. So I know of Lord Fife being there. I don't know the names of the other two lords there, and of course, Colin is there. So they're discussing their global philandering, and it's, in my opinion, I found it to be rather ungentlemanly. And Colin is sat there like in his own space, and you can see he's irritated by their cavalier attitude, in his own words, about the one thing in life that holds genuine meaning. So when he says that, he asks them, don't you find it lonely and tiring to keep up this persona? And the lords laugh at him and dismiss, his feelings. So basically, they don't care. They love all these privileges that are afforded to them, especially the ability to just be philanderers and not really care about women's feelings. And then Lord Debling, in the next scene, he's at the Featherington house, and we've learned that he asks for Penelope's hand, and Penelope is, she's very nervous. Earlier, she had been pacing back and forth in front of the drawing room, which was closed, because that's where Debling was when he was asking Portia for her permission. As they're talking, and as Penelope is trying to find out if the mother accepted, she says, of course I accepted. Do you know the extent of his wealth? He has one of the largest homes in Mayfair, 24 members of staff, and a fleet of caracals. And that match will give Penelope much influence, not only her, but the entire Featherington family influence as well. And then she's like, yeah, you've done really well, Portia, to Penelope. You've done really well, and I'm really happy for you. And Penelope seems to be hesitating about something, and the mother is like, don't be greedy. You've already caught a bird in the hand, and it's a fine bird. What more could you want? And then Penelope is quiet, and her mother turns and looks at her, and she's like, surely you're not holding out for love? And then she's like, let me tell you what is romantic. Security is romantic, and I am interested in doing what is in your best interest, and if you can't do it for yourself, I am going to do it for you. So at the Bridgerton house, you see Violet getting ready and waiting on someone before she leaves for the Queen's ball. Then she encounters Colin, who is telling her, listen, I'd rather skip out on this event. And the mother is like, listen, was it you that I heard last night, like lumbering into the house? And Colin is just like, listen, yes, it was me. I don't want to go to this event. And the mother is like, are you okay? And he's like, he lashes out at her. And she's like, I'm well. And then she says, like, listen, I've always known that you have been one of the most, of my most sensitive, out of all my children, you've been one of the most sensitive. Um, you're always looking out for what other people need and ready to jump in and be helpful in any way you can, offer a laugh, offer like a joke to make people laugh and lighten the mood. You're always giving others before you give to yourself. And I'm sure it must be tiring being this way, which is why I understand why you've been guarded lately. But be careful that this armor that you have put on doesn't rust and set and making it impossible for you to remove that armor. And then he's like, oh, listen, I'm sorry, I'm just hungover and I shouldn't have lashed out, I'm sorry. And she says, listen, I'm proud of your sensitivity. However, like, living to please people is not like worth living at all, something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing, of course. And then it's like, yeah, I simply don't want to attend, I hope that's okay with you. And she's like, okay, very well, but you should know that you missing out, you not attending this, you'll be missing out on seeing the fruits of your labor, because Portia has been telling everybody who can listen that Lord Dibling is planning to propose to Penelope this evening. And he's like, this evening, are you sure? And she's like, yep, I'm sure. Excuse me, I'm parched. Anyways, you rest well, feel better, dear. And I love how Violet is so wise, and I hope that one day I can be as wise as her, especially when I'm giving like my children advice on love and life, and not just love but many things to do in life, like money and all that, because we out here trying to get that money. But even though we don't get that money like that, let me just take a random moment to say, like, money is important, money is a tool and everything, but money isn't what makes life worth living. I say that again, money isn't what makes life worth living. I look at the things that I have in my life, the people that I have in my life, and every day I count my blessings. And this is not just to be like toxic, I'm not trying to spew out toxic positivity, but there's nothing that I would give, nothing I would exchange for money with what I have. Yes, I need to live. Yes, I need to pay bills. Yes, I need to do all these things, all these financial goals that I have. But I feel blessed every time I am present in the moment with my loved ones. I just soak up everything and I'm like, I'm thankful to God for blessing me with the things that I have. Anyways, we move on. So we're at Queen Charlotte's ball and it begins with a ballet. And it's like that whole dance, which Charlotte calls a love play, is just moving, and it quite literally moves people to tears. And I'd like to have a moment of silence for her exquisite wig. I can't even, there are no words I can use to describe in detail what type of wig it was. Just watch the show and you will see what I'm talking about. That type of artistry is just wow. Wow, that's all I have to say. So you see Marcus later, after the dance is over, the people start dancing, and we know in this world a dance equals marriage, a kiss equals marriage. I think that should be my tagline for this series. So Violet is watching Francesca dance with Lord Samadani, and Marcus joins her, and she's just like, he's asking her how her evening is going, and she's just like, oh, it's going. I'm just worried about my daughter. I'm trying to see if there's a spark, but I can't see anything. So they start talking about matchmaking and marriage. And so what we find out is Marcus is trying to console Violet and encourage her, like, not to give up, because his own marriage was not a love match, but he grew fond of his wife, and they were happy to until the day she died. And as he said that, she was just like, it was a moment of sympathy and empathy between them. They both have lost their spouses, and Violet offers Marcus has her condolences, and in doing so, she also shares about her type of marriage, and she shares that it was a love match, and that's the only thing that she's ever known. And he says, like, my deepest sympathies for your loss. And he tells her, listen, I've never experienced it, and I envy you because of that. However, it is my ambition in my second act to secure a love match. So I'm like, there might be love in the air between these two, but like, we saw their chemistry ever since she dropped her glove and he picked it up for her, and she gave him the look back. Alice, she's accompanied by Lady Agatha. We know Mr. Mondrich didn't attend this whole event because he's dealing with his crisis at the bar. And Agatha and Alice are discussing the bar. And she's opening and sharing after thanking Agatha for joining her, and she's sharing, like, the things that they're struggling with, and Agatha encourages her to leave the old life behind and embrace the new life, and in order to do so, a sacrifice has to be made. And she says the queen won't look on you with favor if you continue carrying on with your past life, and past lives are dangerous places to visit. Having said that, look at how these two women are dressed. Like, I don't have screenshots, honestly, but go and watch the show. This is why I say go and watch the show. Whatever I do here won't do it any justice, but I just talk because I love watching the show and I like discussing things about the show. And honestly, having like a group of people who are into Bridgerton, like, engage and share their thoughts and opinions and stuff, whether I agree or disagree, is not the point. The point is just having a group of people that I can talk to about stuff that excites me, and I know this stuff also excites them. That's what I'm really doing out here. Okay, then we see Benedict talking to Lady and Lord Fuller, and they're discussing the ballet. And I must say, Benedict is such a great conversationalist, and I like how, like, unlike me, I'm not this charismatic like in real life. I can't talk to people across different age groups with ease. It's a struggle, but I do try. But what I will say is Benedict is really, really good at that. He's a man of the people, I will say. And then they bring in Lady Tilly, and they talk about the ballet, and you can see how the members of the town, like, while they're well-meaning, they're really stuffy and really reserved about, like, the dressing. Like, oh, why did the male dancer have no shirt on? I thought that was unnecessary. And then, like, Lady Tilly is like, I completely agree about you. It's so distressful, the state of his, it's so distressing, the state of his undress. And she's looking at, like, Benedict, like, I know what you look like in your state of undress. I know what you look like in your state of undress. Hungry eyes. And Benedict is like, yo, don't look at me like that. They be watching. Eloise and Cressida. So Cressida catches up to Eloise. Eloise is looking at her like, what you doing up here? I thought your father told you shouldn't be talking to that Bridgerton girl. And I was like, hold up, sister. Like, you're that direct in your friendships. Whoo, good for you. Because I know I'd have probably pulled some passive aggressive kind of stuff because I hate confrontation. Anywho, then Cressida's like, oh, you heard that. I'm really sorry about that. Just like, don't apologize for anything. Your father, like, he's just being a fool. Heesh. And then she's like, yeah, I said what I said, and I'm not gonna apologize. And then Cressida's like, I admire your courage to be different. And Eloise is like, I'm not courageous. I simply cannot understand why people do not see things the way I do. And Cressida is like, okay, so how do you see things? And she's like, well, now that you've asked, she doesn't know what she's getting herself into. At the Bridgerton house, I love this house, especially like the exterior. I love this type of, what is it called? Like Georgian villa. Oh, I love it. So Colin has a flashback, and that flashback is of like, so he's staring at a lamp, and previously there was a lamp at his study that got broken, that fell and broke when he caught Penelope in his study when they were having their private flirting lessons in the house. So he was remembering how she was tending to his injured hand, and with that he is moved to action. We don't know where he's going, we don't know to do what, but he just gets up to go somewhere. So at the Queen's ball, we see Agatha. She's leaving the ball, and then she gets a request from Marcus to help him secure a love match, because according to the conversation he had with Violet, he has found out that his sisters, she loves hooking people up, linking couples up together, and he knows that she is, in Violet's words, a molder of society. And Agatha is like, listen, I gotta go. I got places to be. The Queen was satisfied. People danced. So I gotta go and bounce. And he's like, oh, will you help me? And she's just like, listen, I ain't got time for this, bruh. And he's like, listen, I know whatever it is that I've been doing seems like a little sus or seems a little rakish. But it is with the purest intention of heart. And she says, listen, you're gonna tell me whatever you're doing, your pure intentions of the heart are found in your breeches. I'm gone, peace out. So she's very cold towards her brother. We don't know why, but I'm sure we will find out. Then at the ball, Kilmartin approaches Francesca. And let me say something. This dude is called John Starling. Why are we calling him Lord Kilmartin? It has really thrown me off, because I'm like, okay, we're not calling them, I don't know. I was wrong. Because Simon Bassett, for example, is the Duke of Hastings, and in season 1 they were calling him Hastings in the beginning, right? Not Lord Bassett. So I guess you can use it interchangeably, but it really threw me for a loop, I'll say that. So I don't know, should we call him John Sterling or should we call him Kilmartin? Let me know. So Kilmartin approaches Francesca, and she's just like, listen, I'm so parched, I can't talk. And Lord Samadani has gone to get me some lemonade, so I can't say anything. And then he's like, okay, I thought silence was our preferred way of communicating. He's trying to like make things light. He hasn't gotten the point that she is offended. Girlfriend is offended. Get the picture? Yes, we see. That's when I fell for the leader of the pack. Sorry, I went there. So, where was I? So then he apologizes for just leaving her hanging. And he's just like, listen, I'm not really good with words, but where I fail at words, I thrive in gestures. This is for you. Then he hands her something, a piece of paper. And Marquess Samadani comes back with lemonade. And she's like, okay, listen, I am so sorry. Excuse me, Lord Samadani. Mama, can we please go back to the house? I am quite done with the night. And I'm like, seriously? Like you ain't got no home training? You're just gonna leave Samadani hanging? How dare you, Francesca? How dare you? But I love it. That's why she's a sparkler. She does things for her own enjoyment and not for the pleasure of other people. So the queen is looking at this whole scene, right? And she's like, what is happening? Marquess went to get her lemonade. And then Brimsley's like, she is not drinking the lemonade. She is not drinking the lemonade. I need to have that in my on a shirt. And Violet is like stumbling, bumbling. She's just like, yes, let's go. Let's get your brother and sisters. Let's go. Meanwhile, so earlier, Debling had asked Penelope for a dance, right? And so the sisters are just like, I've forgotten how this conversation started, but Prudence is with her husband, and then she just starts talking about something. She's so dissatisfied. She's like, she can't believe she's not pregnant, and her husband starts to say something to comfort her. Or he says, oh, having children just drains youth. Perhaps it's better that it is this way, but we don't need to worry about that because we have so much beauty and stuff. And then it's like, Prudence is like, are you saying we shouldn't be trying? And as she's saying that in public, guys, she's touching her breasts, and he's trying to get her to stop doing that. And then Philippa sees her and she walks over and she's like, are you actually trying to mock me? Because my chest has been sore all week, and Mama says it is a clear sign of pregnancy and not dropsy of the pancreas. So Prudence and her husband look at each other in disbelief, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. So Colin goes to the ball. He's coming out of a carriage like a boss. Okay? And then he's met by those same lords that he was drinking with at the Mondrich bar, and they're like, listen, it's not worth it. Why don't you come out with us? This time we're going to White's, not that dreadful Mondrich bar. And I'm just like, first of all, the Mondriches are friends of the Bridgertons. So how dare you? How dare you talk about the Mondrich bar with such disdain? And he just looks at them and he's like, excuse me. And he brushes past them. And I'm like, way to let the cojones hang low. That's what we talking about. They ain't your friends. And so he dismisses them. It's like, talk to the hand because the face ain't listening. And Penelope, while she's dancing with Lord Debling, she asks him a question. She's like, listen, I have a question to ask you. And he's like, anything. I know, like, you're trying to secure a perfectly sensible, like, practical match, but do you think there's an opportunity, like, in the future for love to, like, grow or something like that? And he's just like, I, like, work has such a large portion of my heart, and I fear it may be difficult to make more space, but I am glad that you're a person who has many passions or much to fill your life with. So but you're looking especially beautiful tonight, Penelope. And I'm just like, this guy has just dashed her hopes and dreams of love. However, what I appreciate about Lord Debling is that, he gives it to you straight, no chaser, and he has integrity about it. He doesn't lie to you. He does not lead you on. He tells you exactly what it is. However, he's not saying, like, it's impossible, this is never going to happen, it's my way or the highway. He doesn't have that type of arrogance. He's very humble and he's very certain of himself. But from his actions, what I have been seeing is that I think he would try if he knew that he was going to be around her. But as he's traveling lots, I think he knows that's not a possibility. So he doesn't want to give anybody the wrong impression about anything. He gives you clarity, and that is a quality that I appreciate in any man. Somebody who gives you clarity without making you want to settle for less. Let me say that. I like a man who gives you clarity without making you settle for less. Like, for example, if you're dealing like in a situationship and someone is like, oh, you know what it is, this is exactly what it is, I'm not looking for something serious, I'm not trying to settle, I want to be single, but you choose whatever it is that you want to choose, that totals. And he knows that you have fallen for him, and he knows that, like, he can't give you what you want, yet he wants something from you. And if you can't give him, he'll find somebody else. Well, he still gave you clarity, but he made you settle for less. So now dabbling is just like, listen, this is what it is. But I know from our conversation that you have other things to fill your life. Penelope should have been clear and also said, listen, what I want is a love match or an opportunity for love to grow. But he didn't make her settle for less, and we will find that out later on. So Cressida is bored by Eloise's ideas, but she's still polite, something that Eloise does not share. Eloise, if she doesn't feel your story, she's just like, I deuces, bye, gotta go. So Colin walks in and he goes directly to the dance floor, and I'm like, this man did not just do that. He did not just do that, but we love him. We love it. So she's more interested in Colin, Penelope, and dabbling. And while Eloise's ideas are fine and progressive, like, I'm honestly on Cressida's level of excitement as well. I'm like, give us the juice, girl. We can talk about her independence, freedom, equal rights later on. Right now, give us the tea. So Colin interrupts their dance, and dabbling is like, listen, I'm not offended. You guys need things to resolve. Go right on, man. So Cressida rushes to dance with Lord Dabbling. She's just like, I'm not going to miss out on my chance. We'll talk about this later. Yeah, babes. We'll chat later. So she rushes off to dance with Lord Dabbling, and this would have been a perfect time for her to like snag him. But we see that Lord Dabbling is pretty much set on Penelope, actually. He's just not like, I like who likes me, and I'm all for that. But he's also like, I like who likes me, but I want to like who likes me. Water break. Sorry. So Colin is just like, listen, you can't marry Lord Dabbling. And she's like, Mina, say what? Come again? Then he tells her, listen, he's traveling, he'll be away, he'll leave you alone for long periods of time. And she's like, I know that it takes 1 year alone to get where he's going. I know he'll be away for 3 years. I know we'll be apart for an extended period of time, but I have come to accept that and make peace with it. I am fine. He's like, I want to marry him. He's what I want. And what are you doing? Like, wrap this story up, bro. You are messing with my future. And he's like, no, you can't marry him. He's really odd. He's just not the right guy. And she's just like, Colin, I really don't know what you're doing, but you best leave. Then she's just like, okay, so you helped me all this time just so that you can ruin it for me right now. Like, you need to stop. You need to stop. I'm doing this. I want to do it. It's getting done. Then Cressida, she's meanwhile talking about the friendship between Colin and Penelope, and she says, listen, they've been friends since forever, and I know it looks pretty heated and everything, and really they've been old friends for the longest time. Because you're saying, and Debling was like, listen, see, they're just friends, they're just like resolving their issues. And she's like, yeah. And he's like, okay, is there something that I'm missing? Is there something there? And he's like, no. Cressida is just like, no, they've just been the oldest friends for a really long time, ever since the Featheringtons moved right across the Bridgerton house across the street. And he's like, directly across the Bridgerton house. And she's like, yep. And then the dance ends. Debling just walks out like a boss. He doesn't say nothing to nobody. So all Cressida's lip service she has shot herself in the foot when she's thinking she's going to snatch this man from Penelope. He was like, sayonara, babes. I wasn't even feeling you in the first place. I was just being polite. And Penelope rushes off after Lord Debling, and she's like, listen, I'm so sorry we were interrupted, but can we, I know the ball is finishing, but can we continue the conversation that we were having? And he's like, listen, I thought you and Mr. Bridgerton, like, had things to resolve. There was something between you guys. So I let you guys dance and tried to get whatever it is out of your system. But I am going to leave, and I want to secure a match with someone who I know isn't preoccupied by other things. And Penelope's like, okay, preoccupied by what? I'm not preoccupied by anything. And he's like, oh, really? So what is the reason why you sit on your windowsill and look outside all day long? This whole week I have seen you search for something or someone. You have just been distracted. And she's just like, I don't understand what you're talking about. Then he's like, does Mr. Colin, like, do you have feeling, does Colin have feelings for you? And his Penelope's like, Colin have feelings? What? No, that idea is just preposterous. It's laughable. Then he asks her, okay, so do you have feelings? Do you want something more with Colin? And she's like, yeah, that wouldn't be possible at all. I don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, I didn't ask if it was possible. I asked if you have feelings for him and you would want something more. Hey, she just keeps quiet. And he's like, listen, I hope, like, I can't have a wife. I can't make someone a wife who has her heart engaged elsewhere. I hope you find whatever it is that you're looking for. Good night. And he bounces. And I was like, 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 I don't know how to feel about this. Like, I feel for our girl Pen, but like, one thing that I can't resist is a man with like integrity. A man who gives clarity. A guy who can dump you in in a way that is full of honor and integrity. Like, this guy did not leave her hanging. He didn't leave her asking like, oh, can I get closure? I don't understand, what was the problem. She knew exactly why she got dumped. He didn't make her feel bad about herself, and he truly genuinely wished her well. Like, the dude was cut to the core. It's not like, oh, he was pissed off and angry and everything and he didn't want to talk to her, and like, nothing like that. He was pissed, he was hurt. I will say he was more hurt than he was angry. And but he gave her the clarity that she needed so that she didn't wonder why. He didn't ghost her. I could go on and on about Debling, but this guy was honestly like He needs an honorable mention as a perfect gentleman in this show. That's just where I'm at. That's just where I'm at. Then the mom comes and she's like, "Oh, what happened? What did you do?" And she's like, "Really? Really? Really, girlfriend? That's what you're going to say? You're going to ask me what I did, not how am I? Am I well? Do I only matter to you if I have a Lord's engagement ring on my finger?" And then Prudence, I'm like, oh my God, this girl does not know anything about timing. She's like, "Mama, I'm pregnant." And then Penelope is like, "Here we go again. You and your favorite daughters, I'm just going to leave y'all." I was going to say heifers. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going to leave y'all alone. I'm going to leave y'all women alone. I'm gonna leave y'all alone. So she storms off, and her mom is just like, "Yo, girlfriend had a point. I was out of pocket there." So she's looking on to try and comfort her daughter. She doesn't know how, but like I feel like her mother's heart was there. But then, of course, she's been really desperate for one of her kids to produce, to get pregnant so that they can have an heir and their financial worries are over. But she just can't be in the moment, right? Anyway, then Francesca, she meanwhile at the Bridgerton house, she's playing some music on the piano, and her mom is just like, "What are you doing?" Then she's like, "Yeah, this, you remember the music that we'd heard earlier on? Lord Kilmartin had it rearranged, and it came out perfectly, exactly as I had imagined it." And I was like, look at him and these love languages come through. He came through, y'all. And you can see there's a little bit of hope with Violet, that she sees her daughter happy and possibly having something with Kilmartin, even though she's not too sure. Then Benedict, he's doing the horizontal tango with Tilly. And then Colin, he chases after Penelope in the carriage, and they talk about Lord Dudley. And she's like, "Listen, why are you even talking to me about this guy? You know, like," then Colin is like, "I just need to know, did he ask you to marry him? Did you say yes?" And it's like, "Why do you want to know? Let me tell you. Okay, so you want to know. Let me tell you what happened. This guy refused to marry me, and it was your fault. He thought that you had feelings for me, and I told him it was ridiculous. I couldn't even imagine this. So, no, he didn't propose." Then he's like, "Okay, listen, Penelope, I need to talk to you." Then she's like, "Nope, I just want us to ride in silence, please. I don't want us to talk." Then he's like, "Please, I really need to talk about this, please, please." Then she's like, "Okay, whatever." He's like, "Listen, I've been having feelings of late." And she's like, "You're going to talk to me about feelings? I do not have time for that. Anybody got time for that?" And he's like, "What if I did have feelings? All these weeks I've been having these things, confounding feelings, things that I want to talk to you about. I couldn't sleep, I can't eat. In fact, like, when I sleep, I see your face. I remember that kiss. And then when I wake up, I'm wishing that I was asleep, because I know I can find you in my dreams. And what if I did have feelings for you?" Then she's like, "Colin, just like, no, like, no, it can't be true. It can't. Just stop talking. Stop talking about these feelings." It's like, "Nope, I can't stop talking. I can't stop. I cannot. I will not. I do not wish to stop talking, because I feel like I've been tortured this whole time. So, could you possibly have feelings for me?" And she's just like, "But Colin, we're friends." Then he's like, "Oh yes, quite right. Quite right there, Penelope, quite right." And then she's like, "But I would like us to be more than friends. So much more." And then watch the scene. How about that? How about I leave everybody on that cliffhanger that we know we have all watched? So it's not a cliffhanger. They're making out. Damn. All I can say about that carriage scene is damn. I can't say more. Is damn, watch it yourself. It's like it's a scene that you can't watch with your mom, you can't watch with your kids, you can't watch with like sometimes you can't even watch with your friends because it be like just way too hot and heavy, and yeah, we just weren't raised like that, you know. So it's a damn scene that you need to watch, and that I am too embarrassed to even talk about on here. Watch it. And so they're getting hot and heavy in that carriage, and then it just stops, right? and and then like they stops, and the carriage, one of the footmen is like, "Oh, Bridgerton house," and they're like, "Oh, really? We're really there already?" And then he fixes her hair, her dress, and everything, and that made me it reminded me of the song by Chris Brown. I've forgotten the lyrics, honestly, but it goes something like, "When he's finished, does he something and adore you?" Something like that. And I was just like, when you are wrapped up in passion and everything, it's very easy for you guys to like undress each other. But then it's like when the event is over, and not saying that there was an event to be, never mind. It's hard for men to like take care of the lady afterwards, like dress her back up, put her back together, straighten her out so she's not out here looking crazy, she's not out here looking a hot mess. So that's the kind of song that it reminded me of. My memory is so bad. Anyways, I like that Chris Brown song. So then, after he's fixed her up, he walks out of the carriage and he's like, "Penelope, would you, are you going to come in?" And she's like, "What are you talking about? Like, Colin, what are you doing? Like, your family is home, they will see me." And he's like, "Penelope, will you come in? Are you going to marry me?" And that is where the scene ended. And I was like, my jaw hit the ground. But I was happy, honestly, because Penelope was in love with this guy since season one. She loved him. You could see it was like unrequited love. She had pined for this guy. She used to write him letters. And finally her dream and her wish has come true. And we know, not only am I happy because it's finally reciprocated, but also marrying your friend is a good thing. I'm glad that he confessed his true feelings, and it wasn't a case of like, "Oh, if I can't have you, no one can." It didn't seem that way to me. I am also happy because the way Violet describes who Colin is, and the way we have seen Colin previously, like how I saw him gifting his family members, those were very thoughtful, specific gifts according to the personalities of the different family members. He's in tune with what his siblings and what his mother likes. He tries to make them happy. His very own mother reported that to him, and we as the viewers, we as the audience are getting to see this side of Colin that is caring, attentive, selfless, generous, caring, helpful, observant. Like she's landed herself like a good match, And of course, he's a Bridgerton, and everybody finds like the Bridgertons to be like really good people. And there is a saying that a man of honor is worth more than gold. So keep that in mind, ladies and gents. So thank you for hanging out with me. This has been long, this has been hard, but we made it. I'm going to re-strategize and change some things in the future videos because we know Bridgerton season 4 is coming out and I want to make it on time, y'all. So I'm going to change the format and things are going to be a little bit different. But if you like this, please thumbs up. Please consider subscribing. Help your girl out with ideas. And definitely don't be afraid to engage with me in the comment section. All right, y'all. Until the next one. Adios.